Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw.
Welcome back to Commander Claw. I am Commander Claw. I'm here to let you know I'm changing things up a little bit. I kind of have a new series. I'm old school 37, and I just like to know I'm going with a series that is going to introduce commanders to new players or players who are looking to play a new commander based on a theme. So when you see the title from me, the title is going to be players who are based on a theme. And I really want you guys to like, comment, and even subscribe if you really enjoy the theme, right? Like the theme. Like you clicked on this because you like kung fu, you like karate, you like martial arts. Hell, you might even like Power Rangers. We all know Tommy the Green Ranger was everybody's favorite ranger. So, without further ado, we're going to be introducing 5 new commanders that know martial arts. Okay, based on our martial art theme, we got Ink Eye Servant Oni. It's a mono black rat ninja commander. Throwback here. If y'all don't know, this is one of my favorite ones from Kamigawa back in the day. Anyway, it's a 5/4 rat ninja with ninjutsu for 5 mana. If you don't know what ninjutsu does, it pretty much allows you to bring in this creature if you have a unblocked creature attack. Okay, so then its trigger ability happens. Whenever Inkai Servant of Oni deals combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And it has tap 2 mana, regenerate Ink Eyes. Okay, so what I want to say about this is if you're building this commander, it's cool to have creature cards in your opponent's graveyard, but if it does not get through, it is pointless. So you're going to need to put cards in that deck to make it go through for combat damage. And one of my favorite cards that I think is highly overlooked and is not expensive enough, as I mean, it should be so popular that it should be more expensive than what it is. This card is okay. Your boy is back. The card is Dolphy Embrace. It is for 3 mana enchantment. Tap 2 black mana. Target creature gains shadow until end of turn. I know you see this on EDH Rec, and it has like a 70% like usage ability. Dude, put this in your deck. Yes. There's not many black cards or mechanics on black cards that make your creature unblockable. So for a mono black commander, you're going to need this, straight up. So if you don't know what Shadow does, this creature can block or be blocked by only creatures with Shadow. So what I'm trying to say here is there's only like 10 creatures in the whole entire Magic catalog that have the ability Shadow. This is the better version because it's an enchantment. It can give your creature Shadow. Oh, but let me give you an added bonus. You can make other target creatures have Shadow. So that means when you're using this card, if you have an opponent that's attacking an opponent and you want that opponent to survive, you can make both creatures have Shadow. It might cost you 4 black mana, but that is a combat phase that has stopped something that you didn't want to happen or something that you did want to happen. So use Dolphy Embrace because it is an auto include for Ink Eyes, Servant of Oni, Rat Master Samurai. Okay, so we know Bloom Burrow came out, and this deck is fire. I mean, it is hot. I mean, who doesn't love rats? Rats one of those creature themes that is just creature tribals that is just unique, super cool. Rat colony this, rat colony that, and we got Vren the Relentless. I'm gonna tell you straight up: do not add Ink Eye Servant Oni with Vren the Relentless. Let me tell you why. For 4 mana, it's a 3/4 rat rogue with Ward 2. This second ability is the reason why you should not include Ink Eyes. Vren the Relentless says, if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Yes, so if your opponent loses a creature due to some kind of death ability, trigger, yada yada yada, deals damage, it goes into exile. So it is pointless to put in Ink Eye, Servant of Oni, because it can only retrieve your opponent's creatures from their graveyard. New players, do not add ink eyes to Vren the Relentless. This is simple and straightforward. It does not, it has no synergy. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on EDH Rec to add ink eyes Servant of Oni with Vren the Relentless. Doesn't make sense. Moving on to number 2. Okay, number 2 is Chisori, the Shattered Blade. Of course, this snake got 4 arms. I never seen a snake with 4 arms. Would that make it a lizard? But anyway, he's a snake samurai. Fits into the theme of knowing martial arts, kung fu, or wielding some type of blades to cut up somebody or some opponent or a commander on the other side of your table. Yes, for 4 mana, it's 2 colors, red and a green. Those are Gruul colors. It's a 4/4, and it says whenever an aura or an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 red spirit creature token with menace. Second ability, at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each modified creature you control. Equipment, auras you control, and counters are modifications. Wow. This is a value engine on itself. So if you are a player looking for a commander to play with, this is going to be fun. This is going to be like its own uh, anthem builder. Like it's +1/+1 counters. It's all that. Like you can use overrun. You can go wide with it. It's its own engine. That's what I really like. Chisori, the Shattered Blade. However, the question is, how often can you put equipments and auras onto the battlefield? That seems kind of slow, right? I have a solution. Okay, so Wilds of Eldraine is a set that just recently came out in 2024. It's about a bunch of fairies and all that jazz. But it came out with these uh, role tokens. And these role tokens are aura enchantments. Okay, so whenever you play, or whenever an aura or equipment enters the battlefield with Chisori, you get to trigger a 2/2 snake with menace. Okay, that's why I'm suggesting these role tokens. So let's talk about them a little bit. All right, so over here on your top left, you see royal, this royal role, right? It becomes a token enchantment or role. You enchant your creature. So you can enchant Chisori, right? Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and it has ward 1. So Chisori becomes a 5/5 with ward 1, right? And whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 1. Oh, that's ward. But that's not the point here. You put a roll onto the creature and you trigger a 2/2. Moving on to the right hand side, Become Brutes is a perfect example. For 2 mana, it's a sorcery. 1 or 2 target creatures each gain haste until end of turn. For each of those creatures, create a monster roll token attached to it. So, a monster roll gives that creature a +1/+1 and trample. But the point is, it triggers because it's an aura which qualifies for Chisori. So for 2 mana, you created 2 auras. That means you get to put in 2/2 snakes with menace. Then at the beginning of your end step, they get +1/+1. So you literally made 2 3/3s for 2 mana and also gave 2 creatures haste. Not if they needed it or not. But you see where I'm at here? This is not on EDH Rec yet. Y'all got to think about Magic and how these words work. They're messing with your mind, but it's really simple. You got to be able to put auras on the battlefield. I believe these monster roll tokens and aura rolls are one of your solutions to make Chisori a better deck. That's why I wanted to introduce it. Moving on to number 3. Okay, we back to some more ninjas, more creatures that know some type of martial arts. We got OG the Exquisite Blade, 2 colors, white and the blue. Those are the Azorius colors. It's a human monk for that has 2/3. First ability, when OG the Exquisite enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and scry 2. Second ability, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, exile up to 1 target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, you're looking at this as pretty basic, straightforward. You blink your own creature. If you don't know what blinking is, that means it leaves the battlefield and comes back to the battlefield. And you can literally do this with OG itself if you cast a second spell each turn. Now, I think the trickiest part for new players to even think about this is how can you cast a second spell? Okay, you can put a bunch of cantrips or 1 mana CMC spells into play or in your hand and actually play them. That's a good way. That might require 2 cards. But I want y'all to think, how can you get a second spell for free? For free. How can you play a second spell at the lowest cost possible? I have a solution for you. So this way, you can blink OG itself or another creature instantly. And it might only require you to really cast 1 spell. Moving on to that card. That card is As Foretold for 3 mana as an enchantment. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on As Foretold. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a spell you cast with mana value X or less, where X is the number of time counters on As Foretold. So this is my solution for being able to play a second spell for free. It just depends on how many time counters you have on it. All I got to say is, if your opponents do not know this card and they do not stop this card gets out of hand. It literally can become an omniscience, omniessence, omniscience, omnipotent. One of that card that allows you to play anything in your hand for free, if it stays around long enough. But reason why I like this card, because it's friendly in the beginning. Okay, one time counter, not a big deal. That means you can only play one CMC. 2 time counters, 2 CMC. 3 time counters, 3 CMC. That's 3 turns. A lot happens in 3 turns. So this is kind of an under a radar enchantment that gets overwhelming. It is a must add for OG, the Exquisite Blade. Oh, you already know Isshin, the 2 Heavans S1 was going to be on this list. You know he knows martial arts. He came from the Kamigawa set. You know I was going to add samurais. He's super popular. Let me tell you what he does first, and I'm going to tell you the main thing you should really do with this commander, or as your deck building with this commander, because if you never really played Mardu colors, you're in for a big surprise. Okay? Anyways, Isshin says he's a legendary human samurai for red, white, and black. 3/4 body. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you for this next card is add treasure tokens to this deck. Add all types of forms of creating treasures. You know why? Because Mardu is bad at mana acceleration. Okay, we're back to creating treasure tokens, right? You can do that with so many ways. The reason why I suggest treasure tokens because they can be tapped and sacrificed to create any type of mana color. Alchemist Talent is a new card from the Bloom Burrow set. Very good, very good. It is a enchantment class. This is kind of a mechanic that's back in the day with the not back in the day. It's not that far. Anyway, I'm blabbering, blah blah blah. Let me get straight to the card. Here we go. It is a saga enchantment that says when Alchemist Talent enters, create 2 tap treasure tokens. Bam, 2 tap treasure tokens. Any colors they tap for any color. Any color. Okay. To go to level 2, you just have to tap a red and a colorless mana. Now it says treasures you control have tap, sacrifices artifact, add 2 mana of any one color. Okay, this is why I want you to add this card to your deck and focus on treasure tokens because Mardu does not it doesn't generate mana of any color easily. Y'all are gonna argue with me saying all these red cards that like Seething Song that add 5 red mana. I added 3 red mana. Bro, it doesn't work for Mardu. You're stuck with 3 red mana. And when you need white or black to do something else, you're kind of like on the other side, which is not good. That's not good. It's not going to work. So I'm telling you, add more treasure tokens for your mana acceleration in your Mardu decks. You will thank me later. You got to focus on mana acceleration. Moving on to level 3, you tap 5 mana, 4 colors and a red. It says whenever you cast a spell, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, this class deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to each opponent. That's super dangerous for your opponents, because if you got treasure tokens hanging around and you use it for a card, and Mardu, they have very high CMC spells. So if your opponent takes 6 damage because you tapped 1 treasure token to cast a spell, the target will be on you. Your pod will try to take you out. That's obvious. But this gives you killing ability. So not only does it multiply your mana, multiply your treasure tokens by 2, pretty much. It deals damage to your opponents, each of them. I mean, what are we talking about here? This is a must include. This is a dangerous card, straight up. Moving on to number 5. Whoa! More ninja action out here. We got Goro-Goro and Satoru. They're not my favorite cards, but I like them together. They are in Grixis colors, blue, black, and red. It's a goblin human that's 3/4 body. It says whenever one or more creatures you control that enter the battlefield this turn deal combat damage to a player, create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token with flying. Tap 2. 1 color is 1 red. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. So most deck builders are going to make this creature heavy, right? Makes sense. You need to put in creatures that can come in tapped and attacking, or creatures that have haste and they deal combat damage. And they're going to need some kind of evasive ability, such as menace, unblockable, or flying, right? So I also thought about other ways to build this deck. You got extra combats, but I think one way is left out and is probably more powerful, and that is extra turns. So what you really need to do is have extra combats some way, somehow. So extra combat spells and extra turn spells grant you this ability. But I got a couple cards from the Lord of the Rings set that I think really synergize well with Goro-Goro and Satoru from more of a synchronized and defensive end that should be kind of auto includes, and they're easily able to generate value consistently at low CMC rates. Let's check them out. Okay, we got the Mortar Trebuchet. Trebuchet, that's French. I know that is. I know that is. Tell me if I'm wrong. Anyway, it's a 3 mana artifact creature wall. It's a 1/4 body. It has Defender. It says whenever you attack with 1 or more goblins and or orcs, create a 2/1 colorless construct artifact creature token with flying named Ballistic Boulder that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice that token at end of combat. Okay, guess what? Satoru and Goro-Goro is a goblin human that qualifies for its ability. So whenever you swing with your commander, you're creating a creature that has a 2/1 body with flying and is tapped and attacking, which triggers Goro-Goro and Satoru whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield and deals combat damage. Create a 5/5 red dragon with flying. Bam. So overall, you have traded a 2/1 for a 5/5 flyer just by attacking with your commander because he's a goblin. And you can do that every combat phase. I know, thank me later. Moving on to the next card. All right. Saruman the White Hand. He is 1 and Grixis. On a 2/5 body, he's an avatar wizard. He says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, amass Orc X, where X is that spell's mana value. Goblins and orcs you control have Ward 2. Okay, so obviously the last ability, goblins, Goro-Goro and Satoru is a goblin. So he gets Ward 2. But you're looking at the first ability and you're probably thinking, yo, Commander Claw, why would I cast non-creature spells and amass orcs? Easy. You're casting non-creature spells all the time anyway, such as draw spells, death triggers, removal spells, counter spells, and why not get rewarded for playing defensive, creating a orc into play? Bam. And then honestly, if it's on your turn before combat, you can give it haste. You have opponents are trying to destroy your creature on your turn before you attack. The smart ones usually do. Actually, sometimes not even attacking before attacking is good. Sometimes you gotta wait to see who they attack. But either way, it's a double-edged sword. But hey, man, I'm telling you, Saruman the White Hand is a nice creature that actually builds an army at the same time, and grants your commander war too. All right, third card. Moving on. The Warg Rider, 5 mana, 4 colors, and a black. It is a 4/3 body, Orc Warrior. It has menace. It says other orcs and goblins you control have menace. Okay, that gives your commander menace. Goro-Goro and Satoru has menace. Okay, that means he can swing in and do some damage. Alright, at the beginning of combat on your turn, amass orcs 2. Keyword, at the beginning of combat. So if you have Satoru and Goro-Goro out, at the beginning of combat, you create a 2/2 pretty much. That triggers Goro-Goro and Satoru. Now, give it haste with Satoru and Goro-Goro. Deal combat damage. Bam! Create a 5/5 flyer. This is easy, folks. This is easy. There's so many ways to create creatures that come in tapped and attacking. That's why Satoru gives them haste. You got to be able to do it. Thank you. So let me tell you why you should subscribe. These are 5 commanders that have some type of anime, kung fu, martial arts initiative, right? So in the description box, I'm going to be adding other videos that are like add these 10 cards for this commander. So that way, I want you to see the format of videos that I'm building. You discover these commanders based on a theme. Then you can go down to the description box and click on, 10 cards I should add. 10 cards that should be considered with building this type of commander. So that way you kind of just build a card list and get reasonings behind it. But overall, I'm really trying to focus on players new and old, the choosing of a commander and deck building process, and with the sprinkle of philosophy. I've been away from YouTube for a while, and I had time to think about it, so I'm working on that. So stay tuned, subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.